health education and behavior major here at the University of Florida. I am intending on focusing on worksite health promotion and or health education in the school system, so kindergarten through 12th grade once I graduate. I had the pleasure of interviewing the wonderful Miss Julia Ray Varnes, one of our own at University of Florida's Gatorwell facility, which is really cool. I'm really happy to guide you through all of what I have learned through this experience through interviewing Miss Varnes. So without further ado, Miss Julia Ray Varnes is a health promotion specialist at the University of Florida at the Gatorwell facility. As a student, I feel as if we look at the Gatorwell facility as a health resource that provides free condoms around campus and provides those anti-stress techniques during finals and midterms, which everybody, I'm sure, thoroughly enjoys. And then also always has those orange and blue little tents popping up around the hub or near the Rights Union or even over near like Turlington. So I think that it's a very good health education resource as students, something that we don't realize we always have, but it's a very cool resource. Some projects that Miss Julia Ray Varnes has worked on is UF's AHEC, which is the University of Florida's area for health education centers. Also, she worked with the Attack It program, which is a program that I'm very interested in, and I think it's very, very cool. It's actually an AHEC program that stands for AHEC Tobacco Training and Cessation, the initial training area of it. But it's something that she was a big part of. She helped create a curriculum to train students in the health profession field, so pre-professionals, as well as nursing students, health education students, and health science students. She helped train them about some information regarding substance abuse and prevention, and then they went around to local middle schools and they taught middle school students about drug abuse and substance abuse and prevention, which is something that's really cool because it taught these pre-professional students something about health education, and it's not something that only health educators should have the knowledge of. Anybody in the health field should be able to teach a little bit about health, just so they have a better understanding themselves and they can discuss with others about it. But it's a really, really cool program. In regards to becoming a health educator, Julia actually had a really interesting path because she grew up with knowledge of health education. As a freshman, I came to UF and I was an athletic training major, and I never heard of health education in my life until my first community health class, and then my professor, which was really cool, and I learned a lot, and that's when I came to health education. Miss Julia, she actually grew up with her mother being a health educator. She specialized in worksite health promotion and ended up teaching at some point, which is really cool. And then her father was in sports management, so she kind of grew up with the knowledge of health education. And when she declared her major freshman year of college at the University of Florida, she declared her major as a health science education major, which is what it was back then. And then she eventually got her master's in health science education and jumped around a little bit school-wise. But while I've shown her educational background, I really like to state that I love how she approached her degrees. She would often take time in between school to work on various projects, which helped broaden her horizons a little bit, and she would gain more knowledge. She would work on projects that were totally different from each other, so she would be able to apply this information that she was learning and take it to her different degrees and use it in different ways, which is really interesting and really cool. Some projects that you may be familiar with that she has worked with. She worked with Tampax, the tampon company, and she worked with a lot of education about sex education and stuff like that during that, as well as she worked a little bit of sex education and Planned Parenthood. So that's really cool. Also, the nicotine vaccine, which is something that she actually worked on when she was at the University of Maryland getting her public health master's degree. And the nicotine vaccine is something that would be a vaccine to prevent nicotine addiction, which would make so many strides in health education and the prevalence of smoking and lung cancer and throat cancer and tongue cancer and such going down. You'll see throughout my presentation that Miss Varnes specialized a lot in substance abuse and prevention and interpersonal violence, anything with tobacco. It's a really interesting field, something that I would never have thought of. I usually focus on like nutrition, physical education, and just the mind and body, but she really encompasses the soul part of health education, and that there's 6 dimensions of health, and you really have to focus on every single one of them. The field is so wide as health educators. She really enjoys helping people, and that's why she's in this field, and this is why I'm sure many of us are in the health education field. I asked her if why she was so interested in health education, but why she was so interested in the substance abuse and prevention aspect and then interpersonal violence aspect. And she discussed that she really, really enjoys and it intrigues her how society and culture can affect our ability to make health decisions. And I think this is really interesting way to look at it. I've never really approached it from that, and I really learned a lot from that. I asked about any regrets, and as Ms. Varnes stated, she has no regrets at all. She loved her journey, even though it was a little bit different than a lot of people's, and she jumped around from school to work to school to work. It really helped her become a better, more effective health educator, and she has a really good point at grabbing that knowledge from other places and being able to apply it is to your education is a very good way to approach a degree like this. 4 keys to a well-rounded teaching method. This is something I had to put in here because as health educators, I think this is something that we really need to know. The keys that she discussed are being comprehensive, listening, being vigilant, using the multi-methods. Being comprehensive, so when she says always be over-prepared when teaching. It's easier just to take stuff out than put stuff in. I mean, students can always tell if you're not prepared, and you don't want to be stressing out when you are going to give a presentation or design a curriculum for students. You want to make sure you can get as much knowledge in there as possible so they learn effectively. Listening is something that is very important in life, not only the health education field or teaching field. We need to take both verbal and nonverbal cues, and we need to translate them. If somebody is slouched and they're sleeping, they're obviously not paying attention to what you're saying, so you need to find a way to grab their attention. And you can also tell when somebody can really understand what you're saying. They're nodding their head and they're smiling. They're like, yeah, I definitely get that. Or sometimes they kind of look foggy and they just don't understand what you're saying, so you know you have to reiterate it in a different way. This really helps us tailor our programs to specific population needs, which is really good. You need to be vigilant as a health educator, so you need to make sure you're always checking your information and make sure everything is up to date and still true. It allows us to present the same ideas repeatedly, but in newer and more fresh ways, which is something that's very good. Also, you want to make sure that that your stuff is correct, because if you're teaching wrong information, then you're not doing a very good job. But also, the most important, one of the most important, at least in my opinion, is the multi-method key, where you use more than one approach to teach a specific health audience or target audience. This helps with different learning styles and allows people to learn in different ways. The more ways somebody learns something, the more, like, the easier it's going to be for them to be able to remember it and to recall it and to maybe eventually apply it to their own life. So it allows information to stick around and become knowledge for us, which is something that's very, very important, and I think is ultimately our goal as health educators. Philosophies in health education. My favorite quote that she discussed during our interview was, "Treat others how they would like to be treated." Not everyone wants to be treated the way you want to be treated. So this really helps us because it shows that we are treating others with respect that they deserve, and that treating others with respect is very important in the education field, period. She seems to have, from her point of view, it seems that there is more than one health education field. The above quote, it resonates with me because I think it really exhibits the respect that we should have for our audience and for students. As health educators, we need to be able to show others that we are accepting of other people's identities, and that we can respect them. And I think that's something with equity and individualism. Miss Varnes discussed how equity and individualism, we need to be able to respect that somebody is different from somebody else, but that they should be able to grow within themselves. And the key philosophy in health education, according to Ms. Varnes, is that primary prevention. In the end, it'll save lives, it'll save money, and it'll improve overall quality of life, which is, I think, the ultimate goal of health education. Improving the quality of life, saving money, and saving lives, that's what we all want to do. Some advice that Ms. Varnes gave me while I was giving her this interview is that we should always think before an interview what our health education philosophy is and try to pinpoint an idea or two to discuss. It allows our future employees to understand our point of view and how we see health education and the field itself. I talked to her about her view on health education, so the past, the present, the future, and there's been a lot of gains, there's been some losses, and this was very good to discuss with her. In the last 20 years, a lot of strides have been made in health education. CHESS credentialing, MCHESS credentialing. Hawaii actually became the first state to mandate that anybody in the health educator position needs to have some sort of health education credentialing before they get accepted for the position. I think that's very important because then it illustrates that qualified people will be in the teaching position, which is wonderful. Some other recent gains would be that tobacco prevalence is now some of the lowest ever. Now only 18% of people smoke, which is wonderful. Something that's been done along those lines have been college campuses have been going tobacco-free. Restaurants don't allow people to smoke in there anymore, which is really cool. Also, having such a public figure such as Michelle Obama and her Let's Move campaign for younger people, having an influential person that is seen as much as her being such a advocate for health education really will change things in the future. But fortunately, one of the best ways to enact this change is in Miss Varnes's point of view is to enforce policies, which I definitely would have to agree. Doing the Buckle Up campaign in Florida has really helped that. Enforcing laws where we can't smoke in restaurants or smoke on campuses. We don't want to get tickets, so therefore we are going to stop these behaviors. Some losses that we have been a part of in the last couple years, probably according to Ms. Barnes, was the No Child Left Behind Act, where it took money away from health education in the school systems and physical education in the school systems and put towards academics, and it never really did its job in that as well. But in the future, while there still has a lot of strides to be made, there is a future in health education, and the more people that know about it, the more people can be educated about it. Some advice to students in the HEB field, the health education and behavior field, is that use your professors as a resource for health education. This is very important because our professors are here to help us, and they understand the information a little bit better than we do as students. I mean, we are here to learn from them. Working with professors to gain insight will broaden our own horizons, but it will also allow us to understand health education methods better, and it'll make us more effective as future health educators. Another thing, keep your textbooks. Something I definitely think is important. Keeping our important textbooks will allow us to go back and look at that as a point of reference after we graduate. It's almost like having all of these health education, health experts at the tip of our fingers. We can always call on them in times of need and times of question, which is wonderful because our professors won't always be there after we graduate. And something that really struck hard with me as a student is we really need to try hard to understand everything. We really need to know that there's going to be application for all these theories that we don't think that we will ever feel the need to remember, but we do. Ms. Varnes stated that she regularly uses the socio-ecological framework, and it's used in her day-to-day life and helps her by letting her hit all the points. And by doing that, it makes her a better health educator and allows her audience to really understand where she's coming from a little bit more. Some reflections after all this information, that in health education lies a huge field of opportunity when it comes to different interests of health. There are the 6 dimensions of health: mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, social, environmental. And there needs to be somebody teaching others about all these types of health in order to make one well-balanced, well-rounded individual, because all of these aspects really play a key in health and even health education. So regardless of what our weak point is, there needs to be, and there can be, someone that knows the answer and can really help us become or stay a healthy individual. There are various ways in which non-HEB majors can really get involved. We were discussing projects that she's worked on, and it made me think of after I chose my major, and most of my family and my friends, they questioned me and they were puzzled by my major. They didn't understand what it was, and getting them involved in health education helps me as a health educator because I know that this is really what I would like to do. And it allows others to become healthier individuals. What I've learned as a future health educator through this experience is that we need to really teach people the same information in multiple different ways. This allows them to, gives them a reason to remember what you're teaching, and as soon as they can, they might be able to apply the information to their life more effectively because they wrote it down, they took notes, they did an activity, they also read about it. In involving all three of those aspects of learning, it'll help information stick to the individual. Being open-minded, it really goes along with Miss Varnes said in our interview about treating others how they want to be treated. We should really understand the value of others' opinions, thoughts, and beliefs, and keep an open mind will always allow us to expand our knowledge. By keeping learning, something that I really believe is that knowledge is a journey, it's not a destination. It's never ending. We need to stay up to date with information. We need to keep learning and become more effective health educators so we can really make a difference on the world. Last but not least, I would like to discuss the passion for health and health education in our field. Julia and I, Miss Varnes, we have the same passion fundamentally to help others. We really want to help others. While Miss Varnes wants to help others through substance abuse and prevention, I really want to help others increase their quality of life through nutrition and physical education, and basically just a way to increase their quality of life, which is the same thing Miss Julia wanted to do. Our fields are different, but I feel like our philosophy at the end of the day boils down to the same stuff. My own philosophy is that I see health education as an opportunity. It is an opportunity to improve somebody's quality of life through researching, planning, implementing, and evaluation of programs targeted at each dimension of health. We need to think of health education as an opportunity to teach others to improve another person's quality of life. This is what gets to me at the core of my being about health education. We're really here to be the primary prevention of a bad quality of life in this world. But I would really like to thank you guys for listening to this. I really hope you share the same passion I do as a future health educator. And go Gators!